It all started, as most suburban catastrophes do, with a bad decision involving home improvement. I'm knee-deep in what feels like the entire Amazon rainforest converted to sawdust, arguing with Dave, my alleged contractor, about the structural integrity of a motivational cat poster. "Look, Dave," I say, trying to keep the desperation out of my voice. "For the third time, hang in there. Baby is inspirational, yes, but it cannot, and I repeat, cannot be load-bearing. Dave, a man whose gut instinct for construction is rivaled only by his ability to find the single most expensive way to do anything, just scratches his chin, sending a tiny avalanche of donut crumbs down his t-shirt. Yeah, but if we reinforce it with this 2x4, see? Then the kitty's holding up the whole damn ceiling, metaphorically and literally. His partner Gary, who's currently trying to eyeball a level line for a shelf that already looks drunk, nods sagely. Poetic, Dave. Real poetic. My phone buzzes in my pocket, a welcome escape. I yank it out, expecting another spam call offering to extend my car's non-existent warranty. Instead, it's a frantic series of texts from my neighbor, Sarah, the one who live tweets the neighborhood squirrels. Sarah. Mike, you will not believe this. Sarah. School evac. Chemical plant thing. Sarah. Karen is blocking the buses. Sarah. Literal Karen. With the clipboard, send help or bail money. I stare at the phone. School evac? We'd gotten the town alert an hour ago, some kind of hissy fit from the old DuPont chemical plant on the edge of town. Minor gas leak, the alert chirped. Precautionary evacuation for Zone B. That was us. Sunny Meadows, ironically named given its perpetual state of low-grade passive aggression. Nothing major, they said. Orderly process, they assured. They clearly hadn't factored in Karen Henderson, HOA president, self-appointed guardian of suburban mediocrity, and the undisputed world champion of weaponizing bylaws. Guys, I say, a new kind of weariness settling over me. Gotta check something out. Hold off on any structural feline art until I get back. Dave looks wounded. You're stifling my creativity, Mike. Gary, meanwhile, has managed to attach one end of the shelf an inch higher than the other. Nailed it. I don't even bother. I head for the door, the distant, mournful whoop of sirens already reaching my ears. As I hit the porch, I can see it. The end of my usually sleepy cul-de-sac looks like a hostage negotiation gone wrong. Two big bright yellow school buses, engines idling, packed with kids, and standing before them like a 5'4" blonde-bobbed Gandalf, barring their passage, is Karen. Clipboard clutched to her chest like a shield. Oh, this was going to be good, or terrible? Probably both. I jog down the street, the smell of freshly cut grass and impending Karen-related doom filling my nostrils. Principal Thompson, a man who usually looks like he's about 5 minutes from retirement and a stiff drink is practically vibrating with anxiety. He's trying to reason with her, his hands fluttering like trapped birds. As I've explained, Principal Thompson, Karen is saying, her voice carrying that uniquely grating pitch that could curdle milk at 50 paces. Article 4, subsection C, Paragraph 2 of the Sunny Meadows Homeowners Association bylaws clearly states that any vehicle exceeding a 2-ton gross weight limit requires a heavy transit impact permit at least 72 hours prior to entering community-designated thoroughfares. These monstrosities. She gestures disdainfully at the buses, as if they're about to sprout tentacles and drag her prized azaleas to a watery grave. Patently violate this sacred covenant. Principal Thompson, bless his rapidly thinning hair, tries again. But Mrs. Henderson, this is an emergency evacuation. The town manager, the fire chief, they all said, an emergency does not exempt one from established community regulations, Principal. Karen sniffs, adjusting her perfectly ironed linen blazer. Think of the asphalt, the potential for rutting. We just had it resealed last spring, and the assessment for that was, as you'll recall from the minutes of the June meeting, quite substantial. Kids are now plastered to the bus windows, their faces a mixture of fear, boredom, and the dawning, beautiful realization that they're witnessing peak adult absurdity. I can see little Timmy Jenkins from next door mouthing, "What the heck?" through the glass. "You and me both, Timmy." I step forward, trying for a calm, reasonable tone. "Mostly." "Karen, hi. Mike from number 12? The one with the slightly too long grass, according to your last 3 friendly notifications?" She turns her laser gaze on me. It's like being audited by a hummingbird. "Mr. Davies, I see your renovations are progressing. I trust you filed the appropriate architectural review board applications for any external modifications, and the color palette for your new mailbox. I hope it's within the approved spectrum." "My mailbox is the same rusty black it's always been, Karen. Listen, about these buses. Are you a signatory on the HOA charter, Mr. Davies?" She cuts in, already losing interest in me now that she's established my potential bylaw infractions. "Because if not, your input on this matter is, with all due respect, irrelevant. Like your current lawn situation." "Okay, deep breaths, Mike. She's baiting you. Don't take it. Think of the children. Think of the rapidly depleting ozone layer that this gas leak is probably not helping." Just then, a police cruiser, lights off, rolls up the street. Officers Miller and Kowalski. Miller looks like he's still trying to decide if his mustache is a good idea. It's not. And Kowalski has the weary, seen-it-all-before at least twice this morning look of a cop in a town with an overactive HOA. "Afternoon, folks," Miller says, trying for official but landing somewhere near Guy, who's really hoping this sorts itself out before his lunch break. "What's the holdup here?" Karen beams, clearly thrilled to have a new audience for her TED Talk on anemic asphalt. "Officers, thank goodness you're here. I was just explaining to Principal Thompson the pertinent regulations regarding unauthorized heavy vehicle transit." And she's off again, brandishing the clipboard like a scepter. I watch Miller's soul slowly leave his body as Karen recites chapter and verse. Kowalski just leans against the cruiser, looking like he's mentally composing his resignation letter. "Ma'am," Miller finally manages, holding up a hand. "With all due respect, and I mean all due respect, there's a town-wide evacuation order. Gas leak, potentially hazardous. These kids need to get to the designated safe zone at the high school gym. Like now." "And I respect your role, officer," Karen says, her voice dripping with the kind of condescension that could strip paint. "But the integrity of our planned community infrastructure is also paramount. Perhaps the children can walk? It's only a few miles to the high school. Good for their cardiovascular health. We have some lovely, albeit narrowly demarcated, pedestrian pathways." Principal Thompson makes a small, strangled noise. Some of the older kids on the bus, catching the drift, start a slow, rhythmic chant. "Let us go! Let us go!" One enterprising preteen is trying to start a wave. "This is insane," I mutter, mostly to myself. The air suddenly smells funny. Not necessarily gassy, but acrid. Like burnt plastic and regret. Or maybe that's just Karen's perfume. I glance back towards my house. Dave and Gary are now standing on my lawn, Dave holding the leaf blower like it's a particularly noisy scepter, Gary gesturing wildly with a half-eaten sandwich. They look like they're staging a very low-budget remake of Mad Max. I walk back a few paces, needing a moment of non-Karen-contaminated air. "Hey, Mike!" Dave shouts over the sudden, deafening roar as he fires up the leaf blower again, aiming it at a single, defiant dandelion. "You sort out that traffic jam? Looked like a real brouhaha from here. Almost as exciting as when Mrs. Henderson tried to write a ticket for Mr. Henderson's car being excessively beige. Something like that, I yell back. You guys smell any actual gas? Or just Dave's lunch from Tuesday? Gary takes a dramatic sniff, nearly inhaling his sandwich. Nope, just the sweet, sweet smell of artisanal sawdust and, yeah, okay, maybe a hint of Dave's mystery meat surprise. I shake my head. This whole town, this whole HOA, it runs on procedure. Bylaws. Forms in triplicate, probably notarized by a squirrel Karen has on retainer. I remember a time when procedure meant something different, when it meant lives, not lawn ornaments, when a situation this foobar would have been resolved with a single, very direct order, usually followed by a lot of shouting and the distinct possibility of things exploding. Different life, that was. A lifetime ago, or so it feels when you're arguing about the load-bearing capacity of a cat. I look back at the buses, still marooned. Karen is now attempting to measure the wheelbase of the lead bus with a small, floral-patterned tape measure she's produced from her cavernous handbag. The bus driver just stares straight ahead, his expression one of profound existential despair. Decision time. My fuse, never particularly long when confronted with weapons-grade stupidity, has just about burned down to the nub. I walk back, purposefully this time. Principal Thompson, I say, my voice louder than I intend, cutting through Karen's lecture on acceptable tire tread depth. How long exactly did the emergency services say we have before this gas situation goes from precautionary to, oh crap, we're all going to glow in the dark? Thompson jumps, startled. They said we had about an hour from the first alert. That was, He fumbles for his phone, his hands shaking. That was nearly 50 minutes ago. Oh dear, oh dear. My gaze flicks to Karen, then to my watch. So, we've got minutes. Karen, last chance. Move your minivan. Her beige minivan, naturally, is parked with exquisite precision to block the only alternative route around the buses. It's a masterpiece of passive-aggressive obstruction. Karen draws herself up. My vehicle is parked in a designated HOA President Priority Zone, as clearly marked. And I will not be intimidated, Mr. Davies. This is about principles, and the non-refundable deposit we paid for the asphalt sealant. I just look at her. She thinks this is a negotiation. That's adorable, in a terrifying, civilization-ending kind of way. I pull out my phone. Scroll through my contacts, past dentist avoid and Gary contractor, questionable. Ah, there he is. Rock do not call unless Armageddon or equivalent. This probably qualifies as equivalent. I hit dial. The phone rings twice. Yeah? A gravelly voice answers. No hello, no pleasantries. Just pure, unadulterated efficiency. Rock? Yeah, it's Mike. My voice is deliberately low, but firm. Got a bit of a situation here in Sunny Meadows. Civil obstruction impeding a school evacuation. Local authorities, engaged in vigorous dialogue. A grunt from the other end. Vigorous dialogue? That's a new one. Who's the offending numpty this time? Lady with a clipboard, Rock, peak model, thinks HOA bylaws trump federal emergency directives. I can almost hear him roll his eyes. Yeah, it's that kind of cluster. How quick can you get some persuasion? Down here? School buses are stuck, kids on board, gas leak ticking. A pause. Location confirmed. Persuasion assets are conveniently close. Give me 3 minutes. 3 minutes is good. See ya, Rock. And hey, try not to scuff the prize-winning petunias. No promises on the petunias, Mike. Rock out. Click. I hang up. The silence that follows is thick with unspoken questions. Karen is glaring at me, her lips pursed into a tiny, disapproving knot. Officers Miller and Kowalski are openly staring. Principal Thompson looks like he's trying to remember the words to the Lord's Prayer. Mr. Davies, was it?" Officer Kowalski finally ventures, his hand hovering near his radio, probably wondering if he needs to call for backup for whatever fresh hell is about to break loose. "Who exactly did you just call? The, persuasion police?" I offer a thin smile. "Just a friend. Runs a very specialized kind of dispute resolution service. Excellent Yelp reviews. Very enthusiastic about vehicle relocation." Karen scoffs, a sound like air escaping a very old, very self-important balloon. "Oh, please. Are you calling your tough buddies from that dreadful motorcycle club that meets by the highway? This is an HOA matter, Mr. Davies, not some back alley brawl over parking spaces. Though, speaking of parking, your RV is still technically encroaching on the communal greenbelt by 3.5 inches. I just hold up a hand, checking my watch with theatrical calm. About 2 minutes and 40 seconds now, Karen. Tick-tock. Miller and Kowalski exchange another uneasy glance. Miller actually takes a half-step back. Principal Thompson has closed his eyes. I think he's humming. Then we hear it. A low rumble. Faint at first, like distant thunder on a summer afternoon. But it's growing, quickly. Everyone, even Karen, stops. Heads tilt. "What's that noise?" Principal Thompson whispers, eyes snapping open. Dave and Gary, having apparently given up on the leaf blower, wander closer from my lawn, still munching. Gary, ever the connoisseur of chaos, cups a hand to his ear. "Is that a monster truck rally? Finally, some decent entertainment in this cul-de-sac." The rumble intensifies, morphing into a distinct, guttural, mechanical roar. The kind of sound that makes your teeth vibrate and your fillings ache. The ground beneath our feet begins to thrum, a deep, resonant pulse. And then around the corner of Primrose Lane, appearing at the main entrance to Sunny Meadows with an aggressive disregard for the posted 15 miles per hour speed limit, comes the first sign of Rock's persuasion. It's a military police jeep, matte green, lights flashing silently. It takes the corner onto our street, tires squealing just a little. Then another follows it. Then a troop transport truck, the kind you see in movies right before the good guys make a very bad landing. Then another one, even bigger. And then, oh, this is the cherry on the absurdity sundae. An M1117 armored security vehicle. Basically a light armored car that looks like it ate a Humvee for breakfast and is still hungry, rolls into view, its heavy machine gun turret making a slow, deliberate scan of Mrs. Henderson's prize-winning rose bushes. It's a convoy, a full-blown honest-to-God National Guard convoy, in Sunny Meadows, for an HOA dispute. I might need to send Rock a fruit basket after this. A very large fruit basket. The lead Jeep, a classic Willys model polished to a menacing sheen, pulls up with a decisive hiss of brakes. Sergeant Rock Johnson hops out. If granite could take human form, it would look like rock. He's about 6'3", built like a stack of particularly angry cinder blocks, and his jawline looks like it was carved from obsidian by a resentful god. He's in full digital camo, Oakley shades hiding his eyes, and he radiates an aura of pure, unadulterated, "I have no time for your nonsense," authority. He strolls towards me, completely ignoring Karen, who looks like she's just seen a unicorn poop on her freshly manicured lawn. "Mike," Rock says, his voice a low growl that could probably command earthquakes. He even manages a slight, almost imperceptible nod. "You weren't kidding about the clipboard. New record for creative obstruction, I think. Last one involved a llama and a surprisingly resilient garden gnome." I can't help it. A grin splits my face. "Told you, Rock. She's a special kind of dedicated. Thinks asphalt has feelings." Karen, who has temporarily forgotten how to speak, makes a series of small, sputtering noises. Her meticulously organized clipboard trembles in her grip. Officers Miller and Kowalski have gone pale. Miller, bless his cotton socks, actually tries to step forward, puffing out his chest. "Hold on just a minute," Miller begins, his voice cracking slightly. "I'm the ranking law enforcement officer on this scene." Rock slowly turns his head, just enough to fix Miller with a look from behind his shades. It's not a threatening look, not exactly. It's more like the look you'd give a mildly interesting insect right before you decide whether or not to step on it. Miller deflates like a punctured bouncy castle. I was," he mumbles, suddenly fascinated by his own shoes. What in the Sam Hill is all this?" Rock finally deigns to acknowledge Karen. His voice is still that low, calm growl, but it carries the weight of 1,000 badly filled out requisition forms. "Ma'am, I am Sergeant Johnson, United States National Guard, Task Force's Suburban Harmony, apparently. We are currently facilitating a state-authorized emergency evacuation due to a confirmed hazardous materials incident. Your vehicle and your person." He pauses, letting his gaze drift pointedly to Karen's minivan, then back to her. "Are obstructing a federal emergency protocol. You have 10 seconds to clear this roadway. After that, we will clear it for you. And trust me, ma'am." A tiny, almost invisible muscle twitches in his granite jaw. "Our methods for asphalt integrity preservation are a little more robust than your HOA bylaws." He doesn't shout. He doesn't need to. The ASV behind him gives a menacing hydraulic hiss, its turret slowly, almost casually, aligning with Karen's prize-winning birdbath. The kids on the buses, who had been watching in stunned silence, erupt. Cheers, whistles. A few of them are even banging on the windows, chanting, "Rock, rock, rock." Timmy Jenkins is giving 2 enthusiastic thumbs up. This, I realize, is probably going to be the most exciting thing to happen in their entire elementary school careers. Karen opens her mouth, then closes it. For a glorious, beautiful moment, she is utterly, comprehensively speechless. She tries to rally, bless her pointed little heart. This is an outrage," she finally sputters, her voice an octave higher than usual. "I pay my taxes. I know Senator Bumble. He was at our last HOA fundraiser. He complimented my deviled eggs." Sergeant Johnson doesn't even blink. He just glances at his oversized military-grade wristwatch. 7 seconds, ma'am. That's when the dam of Karen's self-importance finally, spectacularly bursts. With a sound that's half shriek, half sob, she whirls around, scrambles for her minivan keys fumbling from her trembling hand, and yanks open the door. She peels out, engine screaming in protest, nearly taking out her own meticulously sculpted boxwood hedge, and leaving a rather impressive set of tire tracks on Mr. Henderson's otherwise immaculate patch of fescue. Good old Senator Bumble, always there for his constituents. The National Guard soldiers, with practiced, almost balletic efficiency, move in. A couple of them, looking impossibly young but utterly professional, start directing the school buses forward. One of them, a kid who can't be more than 19, catches my eye and gives a quick, subtle thumbs up as the first bus rumbles past, the children inside cheering like their team just won the Super Bowl. "All right, Mike," Rock says, clapping me on the shoulder hard enough to realign my spine. "You want to lead this circus parade out, or shall I?" I grin. "After you, Sergeant. But I'm taking point. My pickup's seen worse than a little potential gas cloud. Besides," I jerk a thumb towards my house, "I think my contractors are about to declare my living room a sovereign nation. Gotta get back before they start issuing passports." I hop into my slightly battered but eternally faithful Ford Ranger. It coughs to life like an old smoker, but it's got heart. I pull out, and Rock's Jeep falls in smoothly behind me. the troop transports and the ASV following in an imposing, utterly surreal procession. It feels like I'm leading a liberation force out of the deepest, darkest heart of suburbia. As we roll past Karen's now empty spot, I see her standing on her porch, wringing her hands, her perfect blonde bob slightly askew. Her reign of asphalt-related terror, at least for today, is over. I can't resist a little toot of the horn and a cheerful wave. She just stares, her face a perfect mask of bewildered fury. Yeah, this is definitely going in the Christmas letter. Back at the initial scene of the crime, Officers Miller and Kowalski are trying to make sense of the alien invasion they just witnessed. Miller is talking animatedly into his radio, probably trying to explain to a very confused dispatcher why a heavily armed military convoy just stormed a quiet residential street. Kowalski is just slowly shaking his head, a dazed smile playing on his lips. Did that guy just call in the National Guard for an HOA dispute? Kowalski mutters, more to himself than to Miller. I mean, I've seen some things, but a friggin' armored car? For Karen? Miller clicks off his radio. I think he knows the National Guard. Like, personally, as in, hey, Rock, old buddy, old pal, can you bring a tank to my cul-de-sac? Who is that guy? Dave and Gary, having observed the entire spectacle with open-mouthed awe from my driveway, wander over, tools still in hand. They look like a pair of bewildered garden gnomes who've just witnessed the rapture. Whoa, Dave says, his eyes wide. Did we miss a parade? Was that for the gas leak? Seemed a bit extra, you know? Usually for a gas leak, they just send a dude named Kevin with a big wrench and a clipboard of his own. Not a whole darn army. Gary nods sagely, bits of his sandwich clinging to his chin like confused barnacles. Yeah, Kevin's usually pretty chill. Never seen him roll up with a machine gun turret. Your buddy Mike's got some serious pull, eh? Think he can get us a discount on that military-grade asphalt sealant Karen's always on about? I lead the convoy, feeling like a slightly bewildered Pied Piper with a V8 engine, towards the designated safe zone, the gymnasium of Sunny Meadows High School, home of the Fighting Ferrets. A noble mascot, if a slightly smelly one. Kids are already pouring out of the buses, a chaotic but happy flood of brightly colored backpacks and relieved chatter. Teachers, looking like they've aged a decade in the last hour, are trying to corral them towards juice boxes and cookies. Principal Thompson spots me and rushes over, his face a study in exhausted gratitude. Mike, I don't know what to say, he stammers, grabbing my hand and shaking it with surprising strength. Or who exactly you are. But thank you, you're a hero, a true Sunny Meadows hero. I shuffle uncomfortably. Just a guy who really, really hates bad traffic and overly restrictive bylaws, Principal. Glad the kids are safe. That's all that matters. Sergeant Johnson materializes beside me, his shades still firmly in place, though I swear I see the ghost of a smile playing around his lips. Next time, Mike, he says, his voice back to its low, gravelly rumble, but with a distinct undercurrent of amusement. Maybe try calling the city council first? Or the mayor? Possibly even a strongly worded letter to the editor? The paperwork for deploying an LAV and 3 troop transports for a suburban standoff due to recalcitrant HOA president is gonna be epic. My CO already thinks you're some kind of black ops legend who's gone deep undercover as a disgruntled homeowner. I chuckle. Hey, you guys were in the area for training anyway, right? Consider it a practical field exercise. Community outreach. Winning hearts and minds, one cul-de-sac at a time. Rock actually snorts, a sound like rocks tumbling down a hillside. Right, community outreach. Just try not to make this a regular Tuesday, okay? Though I gotta admit, he leans in a little, his voice dropping conspiratorially. Seeing that lady's face when the ASV... Sorry, Lav. Did that little turret swivel towards her prize-winning petunias? Priceless. Absolutely priceless. The guys in communications are already trying to make it into a training film. De-escalation techniques. Appendix B. Overwhelming suburban firepower. We share a look. A silent acknowledgement of the sheer, unadulterated absurdity of the day. My past, the one I mostly keep locked away with old uniforms and even older memories, had decided to make a rather dramatic guest appearance. An hour later, the all-clear sounds. The gas leak, apparently caused by a rogue badger with a vendetta against corroded pipes, don't ask, has been contained. Kevin with the wrench, it turns out, is a hero in his own right. I drive home, the streets of Sunny Meadows eerily quiet, save for the distant, retreating rumble of Rock's convoy heading back to whatever passes for normal in their world. My house is also quiet. Too quiet. I find Dave and Gary on my porch, feet up on the railing, each nursing one of my emergency beers I'd been saving for a real crisis. Apparently this qualified. "So," Dave says, without preamble, as I step onto the porch. "You gonna tell us how you got a tank to show up? Or are we just supposed to assume you're, like, a secret agent or something?" "It was an LEV," I correct, sinking into the rickety porch chair that's next on their list of things to creatively reinforce. "And no, but hey, at least the road's clear, right? You guys make any actual progress on that, load-bearing feline art situation inside?" Gary beams, pointing proudly through the open doorway. The cat poster is, indeed, still on the wall, and the shelf beneath it is, well, it's still there. Mostly. One end is now propped up by a stack of old National Geographics. "Nailed it!" Gary declares, taking a triumphant swig of my beer. "Turns out gravity's more of a guideline than a rule when you've got enough magazines." My phone buzzes again. It's the neighborhood group chat. My screen lights up with a flurry of notifications, a digital fireworks display of suburban gossip. "Sarah, Mike Davies for president. Of the HOA, not the country. Yet." Mr. Henderson. "What in tarnation was that military exercise on Primrose? Did Karen finally call in the big guns over the Andersons' unapproved wind chimes?" Random neighbor. "I saw it all. That Mike fella just pointed his phone and bam, Army. Is he CIA? FBI? Does he do birthday parties?" It seems I've become something of a local legend. The General of Sunny Meadows, one particularly enthusiastic post calls me. Another is already circulating a petition for Karen's immediate resignation, citing flagrant abuse of clipboard and endangerment of children via excessive bylaw adherence. I lean back, a slow grin spreading across my face. Maybe I should run for HOA president. First order of business, mandatory critical thinking tests for all board members. And bigger driveways, definitely bigger driveways. And maybe, just maybe, a tasteful HOA-approved statue of a very determined cat, hanging in there, load-bearing, of course. Yeah. Life in Sunny Meadows just got a whole lot more interesting, and I have a feeling the asphalt will be just fine.